But first tonight, Robert Mueller's investigation. It was created, as you'll remember, to uncover collusion between American citizens and the government of Russia. 2 years in, its main achievements so far are the financial destruction of several enemies of the political left and the prosecuting of crimes that did not exist before the investigation was created. Now, when the latest in the crosshairs of the Mueller investigation, at the center of all this, he's refusing to go down meekly. Jerome Corsi. In just 60 seconds, he will join us to tell you about what he's gone through himself. But first tonight, Trace Gallagher joins us with new information we just learned a short time ago. Trace?
Tucker, court documents now show that Jerome Corsi, a conservative author and associate of Trump confidant Roger Stone, began speaking with special counsel prosecutors on September 6th of this year, where Corsi was first questioned about, then shown an email in which Roger Stone asked him in July of 2016 to, quote, get to Julian Assange at Ecuadorian embassy in London and get the pending WikiLeaks emails. Corsi claims he declined the request by Roger Stone, saying that any attempt to contact WikiLeaks could put them in investigators' crosshairs. But Robert Mueller's team believes Corsi lied, and instead of turning down Roger Stone's request, he personally passed it along to someone in London. And 8 days later, on August 2nd, 2016, Corsi sent an email to Roger Stone saying WikiLeaks possessed information damaging to Hillary Clinton's campaign and planned to release it in October, quoting again, time to let more than John Podesta to be exposed as in bed with enemy if they are not ready to drop Hillary Rodham Clinton. That appears to be the game hackers are now about. WikiLeaks released John Podesta's hacked emails on October 7, 2016, just hours after the Access Hollywood tape went public, where Donald Trump bragged about groping women. Special counsel wants to know if there was coordination between Roger Stone and Julian Assange about when to release Podesta's damaging emails. Jerome Corsi says he did not have insider information. Instead, he did his homework, connected the dots, and theorized that Assange had Podesta's emails. And Roger Stone just told Tucker Carlson Tonight, quote, none of the emails cited prove I had advance notice of the sources or content of either allegedly hacked or allegedly stolen emails published by WikiLeaks. When did political gossip become a criminal activity? Stone also says his friend Jerry Corsi is being harassed by special counsel not for lying, but for refusing to lie. Tucker.
Thanks a lot, Trace. Appreciate that. So let's boil this down to its essence. Jerome Corsi is 72 years old. He has a PhD in political science from Harvard. He's written 2 New York Times bestsellers about politics. Jerome Corsi is the kind of person who could and probably should be happily retired by now. Instead, as you just heard, he is facing potential felony charges from Robert Mueller. How did this happen? Well, earlier this year, the independent counsel subpoenaed Corsi and seized his laptop and personal phone. They have all of his communications. They know exactly what he said and didn't say. In September, Corsi was summoned to an interview with prosecutors. They asked him if he'd ever tried to broker a meeting with Julian Assange in London. Corsi responded, no, quote, I didn't want anyone to see Assange. So the prosecutors left the room to confer after Corsi said that. They returned and informed Jerome Corsi that he had just committed a felony. On Corsi's laptop was an email chain from more than 2 years before in which he had been asked to contact Assange. As you just heard, Corsi forwarded that email to somebody else. Nothing ever came of any of this. And again, the independent counsel would know because they have Corsi's laptop and phone. They know that Corsi never left the United States and never spoke to Julian Assange. Corsi said he forgot all about forwarding the email. For the crime of forgetting that he forwarded that email, he is facing bankruptcy and imprisonment. So ask yourself this question. How would any of us fare under this standard? How would Robert Mueller fare under the same standard he set up for Jerome Corsi? Robert Mueller is 74 years old. What if the next special prosecutor seized his personal computer and interrogated him about every email he'd ever sent or forwarded going back years? He'd probably be able to remember some of it, but all of it to the letter? Keep in mind, the slightest mistake would mean prison time. Would that be justice, or would it be its opposite? Jerome Corsi would know firsthand, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Corsi, thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure, Tucker. Thank you.
So before, and you're not under oath, and so our viewers will have to assess the accuracy of what you say. But before we get to your interaction with the Mueller investigation, just the basics. Have you ever had contact with Julian Assange?
No, I've never met Julian Assange. I've never spoken with him. I've never emailed him. I've had no contact with Julian Assange whatsoever.
Have you ever had contact with Russian intelligence or knowingly subverted the interests of your own country?
Absolutely not. I've been a loyal American. I have no contacts with Russian intelligence. I have no business interests in Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia. I've never been to Russia.
So tell me if I summarized what happened to you accurately. The special counsel's office gets a hold of your personal computer and your phone. They've got all the records, all the data, and they start asking you about things they already know. And they ask you, have you ever tried to broker a meeting with Assange? You don't remember forwarding this email. They come back and say, bingo, you just committed a felony. Is that what happened?
It's even worse. First of all, I gave my computers to special counsel. I gave them my cell phone. I gave them all my email accounts. I gave them everything they wanted, my Twitter accounts. I signed permission and handed all this over. Now, the first day when I was interviewed, I didn't remember that email. Now, the special counsel came in and blew up, and they actually sent me home and gave me an opportunity to review the emails. When I came back, I amended the testimony to say that I now remember the email. And the special counsel was happy with that until I couldn't give them what they wanted, which was a connection that I had with Assange that they assumed I had, which I didn't have. Now suddenly, they forgot they allowed me to amend my testimony, and they're going back to the mistake I made day one when I forgot the email. So it's really, I think, completely fraudulent, the charge that they were trying to get me to plead to, and I refused to plead to a lie.
Well, but I'm a little confused here. So they have, is there anything that you withheld from them? You say you gave them access to all of your communications. So if you'd had direct contact with Julian Assange or with someone else who had had contact with Assange, they would already know that, wouldn't they?
I would think so. I mean, I gave them everything voluntarily. I had a time machine on that computer, which recorded everything precisely and kept it in the time machine back through 2015. The computer broke in 2018, but I kept it. I voluntarily gave them the 17-inch Apple laptop and the time machine. I gave them my cell phone. I signed over permission for all of my emails, gave them the usernames and passwords. I allowed them to see my Twitter. I even helped Quantico download my Twitter and my Google accounts. I signed over Verizon accounts. Everything they wanted, I had nothing to hide. I gave them to them immediately. And for having forgotten on day one, because I hadn't reviewed the emails, this particular email about Ted Malloch, I'm now being charged with willfully and knowingly giving false information, which is nonsense. I never willingly and falsely gave false information. I intended always to tell the truth. My memory was not perfect.
Right. So, and let me just say that if you deleted emails, presumably the special counsel would have the ability to retrieve those emails. So they would know, I think, what your communications were. I've read accounts in the press. I read one in the Washington Monthly, a liberal magazine, saying that you deserve to go to prison because you've expressed views that they don't like. Do you think that your political views are playing a role in the decision of the special counsel to charge you with a felony?
Yes, I think, and also, by the way, they accused me of deleting emails, and I told them to restore. They restored the emails that I supposedly deleted through the time machine. This is a political witch hunt. Because I did not have a contact with Assange, but yet had figured out that Assange had Podesta's emails, and I figured it out and told Roger Stone and told many people in August, and it just happened that I was right. Well, the prosecutor said, Dr. Corsi, we're not going to believe that on your 25th wedding anniversary to Italy with your wife and family, you had divine inspiration, and God told you Podesta had Assange's emails. Well, I said, I don't know if we want to put it that crassly, but I did figure it out, and I connect the dots, and this time I happen to be right. You just won't believe that I figured it out.
So quickly, because I can't resist asking, because I think the human cost is worth knowing about, what does this cost you?
Oh, it's going to be, just to get started, $200,000. I mean, it bankrupts you very quickly. And the special prosecutors blow you up. They do this, what I call perjury trap. It's really, you know, they ask you a question. They have material they won't show you. You've forgotten about it. They say, you just lied because this email you forgot about in 2016 proves your current memory is wrong. I mean, it's a memory test.
It's disgusting.
And then they accuse you of lying. It's completely rigged, and it's politically driven by Clinton operatives who have an agenda. And if you can't give them, Roger's right, if you can't give them what they're looking for to fill their narrative, they blow you up and charge you with a crime.
I think the public should see what's happening. So I'm grateful that you came on to explain it. Thank you, Jerome Corsi.
Thank you.
Well, you've learned a lot.